I wish I had learned this truth many years ago. Be thankful for the days, good and bad.
All right, welcome to another episode of Warrior versus Zombie. And as always, I've got another amazing warrior to share with you, Stephanie Gardner. But I'll talk about her in just a second. But for those, I want to remind you why you're here. Success is a journey, it's not a destination. As warriors, we all have a history of ups and downs, wins and losses that are all part of making us who we are up to this point, and they provide a foundation for our path forward. We all battle our inner zombie as well as those zombies in our world. And in each episode, I interview warriors who are aspiring leaders from all walks of life: entrepreneurs, artists, health practitioners, business owners, literally any inspired leader that has a story to tell. These warriors have a cause. They have unique value and a vision that goes generations into the future, and today's warrior is no exception. Stephanie Gardner is an awesome warrior. She's an entrepreneur, a business owner, a wife, a mother, and grandmother. She's passionate about water quality and pool safety, and the owner of No Worries Pool Care. And together with her husband of 29 years, and they are a team that have been saving marriages, which is interesting, since 2004. Stephanie has served in ministry leadership for over 32 years and as a praise and worship leader of Living Word Family Church for over 12 years. They have 3 daughters and 4 grandsons, and Stephanie is president of Mid-Cities chapter of Independent Pool Spa Service Association. She's a leader in the pool industry and in that organization, educating and advocating on behalf of the swimming pool industry, as well as being mentors to new pool service company owners. They really want to strengthen the swimming pool industry in Texas, and I assume that goes across the country, but she's focused on Texas. So before I say any more, Stephanie Gardner, welcome to Warrior versus Zombie. You're on the other side of town, and it's nice and going to be hot in here in Texas. I'm sure that you're going to have a lot of activity in the pools around the city today. So what's your day look like today?
My day today is actually going to be, thank you for having me, by the way. My day today is going to be cleaning lots of swimming pools today and getting people ready for the weekend.
Yeah, cleaning swimming pools. That's I would like to be swimming in swimming pools, and I've had the opportunity to have a pool, and I like a clean pool, so that's a beautiful thing. Well, let's do this. I really want to get into your story, and we'll talk a little bit more. Since we're in the same city, we don't have to talk about what it looks like outside our window, or pretty much dealing with the same thing, just on other sides of town. So let's do this. Let's take a quick break. We'll hear a little more, for those in the audio audience, of our theme song, It's Not the Getting There, by Ricky Jean Wright. And we'll be back to hear your story on Warrior versus Zombie.
But the miles become the teacher while the student learns real slow, traveling blind most of the time. Wherever you go, it's not the getting there, it's the journey every day. It's not a race to see.
All right, we're back. Stephanie, quick check-in, but I really, really want to get into your story. So tell me, as we talked about before we got started here, tell me how you got from where you started. You get to pick where that is, and to how you got today.
It seems my entire life I've actually been with my husband. I mean, we met when I was 12 years old at the skating rink, and but love. He's my soulmate. He's my partner in crime. He's my partner in Christ. We do everything together, and partner in my company. That's really, I say that's where we started, but I guess it's where I started. We got married at 19. I was 19. So we've had a very roller coaster of a marriage like most people have, but sometimes it's great. Sometimes it's fun. Sometimes you're at the top of the hill and woo, and then sometimes you're down in the bottom and it's not as good. But we've been through it all and we've continued to come out on the other side, which is awesome. But in 2011, I got pregnant with our fourth child.
Mm-hmm.
We tried to do this without crying. Anyway, we lost him. So I was 38 and lost he was our son. But God is good. So come out on the other side of that. And then a few years later, 2018, I had a stroke that almost took me out. I mean, losing him almost took me out because I lost 5 quarts of all my blood in my body. But apparently medical science being what it is today, I mean, had I been in the 1800s of it all, I would not have been here. But thanks to medical technology and God, I was able to be here. But then I had a stroke in 2018 because I was diagnosed with a rare brain disorder called moya disease. And as I told the doctor that day, I said, well, if we're just going to make up words, I can make up words too. I mean, come in here with that gobbledygook. I mean, that's just nothing. Moya disease. But it means my veins and my brain are very thin. And I've had it my entire life. They said that it would have started in utero when my mother was pregnant with me, and I had no idea. So I've got a reason to be on this planet. I don't know what it is yet, but I'm trying to get there. And I can't believe I'm alive. Actually, I just told my husband that the other day. I was like, wow, the things I've lived through, how am I even here? My stupidity, the things I do stupidly every day, like most people probably do. But why have I been allowed to live and keep going? But anyway, I'm still here. It's been a journey. I guess, so when I had the stroke, I mean, most people have had a stroke. Everyone in my family who's had a stroke has not survived the stroke. Mm-hmm. I was fortunate enough, I survived my stroke. I don't have many deficiencies. I struggle with words, and I have a little bit of left side weakness. I can't run and I can't jump because my brain says, yeah, no, we're not doing that. And then my husband says to me, I mean, I'm a big girl. My husband says, did you run a lot before? I'm like, that's not the point here. I've just tried to run and it's not happening. Like, I'll try to get up going and my brain just says, yeah, no, we're not doing that. So I get scared, and I guess so, but I keep going. I get up every day. Thank God I'm here and see what's going to happen next.
I want to stop for a second. I know we haven't heard your whole story. We're not to today, but I really do. I want to give you some props as well as just kind of make sure. Number one, thank you for sharing the zombies of loss of a child. That's something I can't get my head around. The fact that you met when you were 12 and got married when you were 19 and you're still together. I got married the first time when I was 19. So, I mean, I often say my starter wife was it is tough, going through, even with your soulmate, as you said, or your life partner. As a business owner, as an entrepreneur, we tend to kind of try and compartmentalize, especially guys, but I think we all try to kind of put things in compartments and deal with them as discrete things in our story. And the reality of it is God made us holistic and total, and we are mind, body, spirit. We are here on the planet. Life is a team sport. We're really here to serve each other. I picked up that you are a Christian, and so I will say, I'm a Christian as well. It's not a requirement to be a warrior. It's just, it is what it is. And we only got two jobs. I got to love God and I got to love you. And that's it. Everything else falls under those two things, at least in the book that I read. So it really is very powerful when you say you've made a commitment and you stay with it. Now, I heard you have three daughters, and this was your son. So I don't want to, the cool thing about warriors, or the thing I find about warriors, we don't stay in the moment that we experience the zombie. We fight those zombies, we move forward. Those memories, that pain, those things are still there, but we keep moving forward. And that's obviously what you've done. I know those things can be very traumatic on relationships as well. I've done a lot of counseling. So again, the fact that you're sitting here in where you're at today and focused forward is admirable. And I want to applaud you for continuing to power forward and all those things, which is consistent with the warriors that we have. We all, I can't tell you how many things I've heard where it was like, oh my gosh, you experienced that. But they just it's just kind of matter of fact. It's just, yeah. And then they keep going. So that's brilliant. So this is usually one of the most inspiring points or places in our podcast, is because we all go through stuff, right? And we all are powering forward on our journey. So thank you for sharing. I just want you to know that that's not a small thing. So tell me, so you kind of, we've talked a little bit about, or we've talked about the relationship. We've talked about a little bit of your faith and some of the things that you've gotten through, and the zombies. So how did you get, thinking about the things that led you into the pool business? Okay. So how did that story unfold?
I honestly, I wanted a house. Actually, I did not want a house. My pastors told me that I wanted a house. Okay. So we were living in California in 2003, I believe, and or 2001. We moved to California right after 9/11, and got transferred out there with our software company, because Casey and I were software developers for a few years and did that. So I always say we had real jobs before. So after my real job, I wanted to come back home, because I've always lived within a 13-mile radius of my mom. And I'm over 2,000 miles away. It was really far and really hard. So I'm like, I need to go back home. So, but we also experienced a lot of setbacks there. I don't want to bore you with any of all those details, but so I split with my husband and came back to Texas without him. And he went on to a new relationship, and we found our way back together. But we did all those hurdles. But so when I got back, so we're back in church where we're supposed to be. And my pastor said, I found the cutest house for you. And I'm like, I'm not looking for a house. They said, but it's so cute, Stephanie, it'd be great for you. And I'm like, I'm sure it would be, but I don't want a house. I was living in an apartment. I had nothing to take care of. I just sold my house that we had in Argyle. So, which right now, as the market is coming up, I'm saying that was silly. We should have held on to that. But so got to buy a house. So now I told the realtor that I was talking to, I said, I don't want a house. I don't need a house. But if I have to have a house, the master has to be downstairs. It has to be 2-story, because I promised my youngest daughter that we'd have stairs. It has to have a pool in the backyard, or at least room for a pool. And he's like, okay, I don't know why you want to be so specific. And I go, oh, and my credit's bad and I have no money to put down. So work with that. Do what you will with that. And he's like, okay. So he finds me a house. So we could find this house. It doesn't work out. the way it's supposed to. I think it's going to. So I stood in the driveway of that house, looking across the street at this house that I'm actually living in now. And I said, if that house comes up for sale, I'm going to buy it. It wasn't even on the market. And he said, well, Stephanie, I said, I'm going to buy it and I'm not putting any money down on it. That's my house. He's like, okay. So he wouldn't bring me to see the house. So finally, after a bunch of not being very nice, he's like, okay, I will take you to go see that house. Brought me to see the house. Walk in, I go, I'm buying this house. He says, you don't have no money to put down on it, and it's out of your price range. I go, that's not what I said. I said, I am buying this house. And he's like, okay, I believe what you were saying is true. I said, then make it happen, because God said, I'm buying this house. I'm getting this house. So I bought the house, no money down, and my credit's great now, but then it was not so good. So bought the house, so live here now. But that was a long way around for me to tell you that I needed extra money to be able to buy the house. And that's why we got into the pool business. Oh my goodness, it was a dirt road we took there. Anyway, so my brother owns a pool company, and but he only does commercial pools. So he wanted to get out of the residential pool business. And so he gave me his 10 of his residential customers he had. And we started our own business at that time with his 10 customers he gave us. So he got us our start. And we've grown it to over 150 from there, and just keep continuing to build and build and build. And some it ebbs and flows, some goes, some stay. But that's how we got into it. And been as getting into it, the pool industry itself has a bad reputation because they're servants, they're beneath when you talk about stations in life. They're just, anybody can be a pool person. Chuck in a truck is what we call them. You got a pool pole and a pickup truck, you are a pool guy. Sorry, but we do not want to be pool guys. I'm not a pool guy. My husband's not a pool guy. We are pool professionals. So we hooked up with the industry, IPSA, Independent Pool Spa Service Association, who, what we're trying to do as an organization is change the face of the pool industry so that you look at it as you hire a pool professional, because these people are in your backyard. They need to be licensed. They need to be insured. They need to be able to do all the things that you need them to do to balance your water chemistry correctly, and be able to repair your equipment, because it's a big investment when you get a pool. So if you cannot maintain your investment, then there's no point in you having it. I mean, it was entrusted to you for a reason. Take care of what you have. But there's so many factors that go into having a pool that if you do not balance the water chemistry correctly and somebody has no idea what they're doing, they can ruin the surface street pool. And then as another investment, you're going to have it resurfaced. I mean, it does degrade over time, but people, if you don't hire the right person, hire professional, right professional, it will, they could not balance your water correctly. I've gotten several calls from people over the last couple months, especially with it being when spring was starting and everybody's pool's turning green. And I'm like, oh, because you don't have proper maintenance. You don't have someone taking care of your pool. Oh no, I got a pool guy. I go, you do have a pool guy. That was the key.
So let me, I'm sorry, let me interrupt you just a little, because we're going to get into a little more of, kind of what you're doing today. And I know, it's very, so I now understand how you got to being, in the pool business. And that's fascinating, because as we move on our journey, we go through things. You go through the separation, and now you're back, and you're in a house, and you weren't in a house, and you've got, credit challenges and financial challenges, and now your things are better. Those are all parts of the journey of getting to where you're at. And now today, as I knew when we started the conversation, and the fact, by the way, for the audience, we did a mastermind on pool safety and drowning prevention that anybody listening to this podcast is going to want to get back into. And I assume we'll talk about that in a second after we take a break. As far as connect the dots, just one more thing for me in your story. and then because you kind of glossed over it, and I really think it's important to warriors to understand again that our lives are holistic and they're not compartmentalized. They really are all connected. In your story that I introduced you as, you also talked about being a worship leader, being obviously involved in ministry. Tell me a little bit about how that plays into kind of your story today. And we don't have to go into the whole thing, but I'm sure there's parts of your journey you mentioned your pastor recommended the house. I mean, my pastor recommended my wife to me, my permanent forever wife to me, all that stuff in terms of, hey, you need to get this, just like your house, except it's, I think, pretty important. So how does all that go together in your story, just real quickly?
Okay. We have the ministry that we were with, which is Living Word Family Church. They're out of Gainesville right now, but we were in Carrollton. And once we started going to that church, I started going to the church with my mom because I was a child still. We stayed at that church for many years. And then I met my husband, or I met my husband at 12. And then my mom said, "You're not marrying my daughter unless you get a church." So he came to church with us. So we got involved in ministry together and got married. And then we've been with the same ministry for over 30 years. So
wow.
We've stayed with them and done that. We have a food pantry in Gainesville, Texas, where we feed over 650 families a month.
Mm-hmm.
And all the families are 650 families. It could be 1 to 10 people in the family, but that's where my ministry portion comes in. So we've been youth leaders. We've been, he's the sound engineer for our church now. I'm the praise and worship leader. So
so you're a singer?
I do sing.
Good. Yeah, I do too. Actually, I've been a worship leader myself in a church in Michigan, and then I've been on the worship team here, and then now not so much. I think the worship teams tend to be a little bit younger, and we're a younger community now in terms of the makeup. So that's fascinating. I'm always curious about how people navigate, everything. And I love hearing the stories. Well, let's do this. I'm sure we have more to talk about, but I really want to get into this next segment where we talk about, again, what you're doing today. You've hit on some of those things about the challenges and the reasons and the value that you guys provide and your pool service. And then also we just touched on the pool safety and that kind of thing. So let's take a quick break, hear a little more Ricky Jean Wright, and we'll be back with Stephanie Gardner and Warrior versus Zombie.
It's not a race to see how many people know your name. One day you realize time was worth more than the gold. It's not the getting there. When you get there, you'll know. Funny how wisdom and youth are always two different games.
All right, we are back. And Stephanie, as I said before the break, we're now to today, and I'm sure there's a lot more story. I know I've got a lot of story behind me, and you never know what we're going to talk about when we talk about my journey. But so tell me, why are you doing what you're doing today, other than, you wanted to buy a house and you got into the pool business? There's obviously more to it. There's a lot more to it than that today. And I kind of see, a lot of warriors, if you have a spiritual base or whatever, there's a connection. It becomes, if you're doing it as a warrior just for yourself or just to pay the bills, that's kind of not a sustainable or inspiring thing. And I don't see that in you. I see a lot more. So tell me, why are you doing what you're doing, and the unique value that you see yourself providing, the thing gets you excited about serving the community that you're in. And then if anything were possible, what kind of impact would you have? What would the future look like?
Well, when we got into the pool industry, I did not realize, I mean, at first we got into the pool industry because it was easy, fast money. I mean, coming out of the software industry, that was good money, but that if you did not have a degree, you were not moving up any further. And of course, my husband and I, we did not go to college, neither one of us. We do not have a degree, but we are self-taught and we know a lot. And so he's completely amazing, knows everything about there is to do with anything about a pool. But we got into did not realize that we could make an impact being in the pool industry until we got hooked up with NDPA, which is National Drowning Prevention Alliance, and realized the need there was for to be able to do fundraising and provide swim lessons and water safety for everyone, for millions. We did not realize that it was quite the endeavor. And then I got heavily involved in it with NDPA and with IPSA. And so we have, we partner with Tarrant County Cook's Children's Safe Kids Coalition that provides water safety information and drowning prevention information, as well as services for keep your kids safe, whether it's gun safety or drug awareness, or teaching families how to raise their children correctly so that they don't have the pitfalls of losing a child to drowning. And I lost my place there.
Well, that's okay. So here's the thing, as you're one of the things that just struck me, and I guess I kind of knew this, but kind of didn't. In today's environment, there's a lot of conversation right around child safety in the schools and child safety in this aspect or that. I believe you told me that in our mastermind, I believe you said something to the effect that drowning was the number one cause of death for kids 4 and under. Did I get that right?
Yes, you did. Thank you. I'm glad you remembered that. Yes.
Yeah. Well, it made an impact on me. I have young grandchildren, and I'm thanking God that probably my lack of attentiveness or some of things with when I was younger myself, and then when my 5 kids were younger, that I didn't have that experience. But I do know people, as I think I shared on the mastermind, a good friend, when I came here to Dallas, lost his daughter and ultimately took his own life just because it's such a hard thing to even imagine. So anyway, the other thing about that is it's not just in this association that you're part of. And by the way, I can connect some dots here. I kind of understand if you, regardless of at what age you lost a child, being passionate and understanding and never wanting anybody else to go through the pain of that. Exactly. I can appreciate. It's kind of like all the warriors here. We get to a place, and what we're doing today is often very informed. As I say, it's a foundation for our path forward because we learn things along the way, and because life is a team sport, because we have a calling, if you will, to serve each other. We want others to benefit if we're not just totally selfish, which obviously warriors can't really be and be as effective as they want to be anyway. So tell me, this organization sounds fascinating, and we could probably go off into that. What other kinds of things, value? So you provide a value in understanding how the pool works. You said your husband's technically very competent. You're software engineer, that kind of stuff. So you kind of understand how the pools work. You apply that. That's unique value, I think, because sometimes just knowing how to clean a pool or just doing the manual labor part, it really isn't enough if you're helping somebody with a residential pool. I know, I've had a residential pool. Knowing how the pool works when things aren't quite working right is important. So I can see that value. What else? What other kinds of things do you see yourself and your husband personally bringing to the table?
Well, I feel like our unique value is that our passion for that we actually care about each family that is part of our a part of our group of our clients. They're not just clients, they're families. And I realize that they have children or grandchildren or them themselves. I care about them as people. And I feel like that's most of the value there, just because we care. I mean, a lot of people, like we said, there's a lot of people out there that are selfish, like, not my kid, not my problem, So like I had shared a story on the mastermind where I was on a cruise recently, and a child was just wandering through the chairs where we were, couldn't find their mother. Like, Mom, where? And I'm like, there's a baby here. Find this baby. So as a mom, you're gonna like, whose baby is this? And I found the mother, who was not paying attention to the child at all, and I was very mad and angry about that, because that's the one thing that we have, is to take care of these babies while we have them on this earth, and then give them back to God. But she was not fulfilling her duty.
Well, and again, that's wonderful, and I think that's a warrior lesson there, is that we're all on this to take care of each other, and whether we monetize it or not, the impact we can have just by bringing our unique value to the party, and realizing that, because I didn't know, another thing I think you said on the mastermind, which really impacted me, was I don't remember the age delimiter, or I probably would find it if the tape kept playing in my head long enough. But you were saying that if a child is this old and they're within area of a pool or water, they never should be out of arm's reach. Didn't you say something?
Right. Well, I think all children 4 and under, 5, none of your children should ever be out without arm's reach. You should always, you should always be able to reach out and touch your child. I've always told my kids, I said, if I can't reach out and touch you, you're wrong. And also, if I don't see you, you're wrong. Connect with my eyes. Make sure you see my eyes. So, it was drowning affects children 4 and under, is number one. Used to say it was the number one accidental killer of children, but now it is actually the number one killer of children.
Wow.
Cause of death for children 4 and under. And children 14 and up, they are more susceptible to drowning in open bodies of water. Typically, you're going to see that happen in because they won't wear the life vest because it's not cool, or they've just not been taught that you need to have a life vest on, or that it's important to wear a life vest. So yeah.
And even if they can swim, I mean, again, I know I never wanted to wear a life vest either. So I could swim the length of the pool back and forth a number of times. I did learn to swim. Some of the things that today we don't get locked in on as quickly as possible with kids is just as you said, I think in your mastermind is that they should be able to be thrown into the pool, go under, and then make it to the side of the pool, or yes, to swim to the side of the pool, or to be able to roll over on their back and float or tread water for a long enough time. Because the other thing that made an impact on me that you said was also the silence of it on the movies. That was the other thing that impressed me, that we tend to think of. And again, it's not everything in the movies is real. And that's one of them. I mean, we tend to think somebody's drowning, they're going to be screaming, and you're going to go, oh yeah, Johnny's out there in the ocean. No, a lot of times they just disappear. And that's always, anybody who's actually tragically had that experience will tell you, it's not that I didn't pay attention because they were hollering. It's just that it was a silent killer. So tell me, if anything were possible, Stephanie, what kind of impact, all these things, working with pools, getting the message out, getting the awareness of the risks to children and saving babies, as you said. What is the scope of that impact? What, if anything were possible? And as I always say, I believe everything is possible. What kind of impact would you like to have?
Well, because it's time for drowning prevention to become part of our national conversation. Mm-hmm. We don't talk about it. People that you don't want to talk about drowning, that's sad. You don't talk about it. Just like the shooting that happened in Uvalde. Yeah. You don't want to talk about those things. You want to talk about gun control and okay. There's a time and place for that. I get that. But we got to be able to eradicate this leading killer of our children. And the only way to do that is through education, and to educate as many people as possible to know that you need to pay attention to your children, because you are the ultimate lifeguard. There is no substitution for supervision. And sometimes even you could be right there in front of your child and they turn your back for a moment and they can slip under the water. Because yes, drowning is very silent. But tell me the question one more time. I'm sorry.
So what kind of impact did you want to have? What was
the impact I would like to have is to be able to educate and as many people as possible.
Yeah, you kind of answered it, which is eliminating that as a cause of death. And what you didn't say was that we should outlaw pools for anybody who has kids under 4. So, which I sounds silly. Unfortunately, that's the mindset of some people that really don't understand the problem and don't understand that we have personal responsibility to in our community, as well as for our own families and children and schools and communities. We each have a piece of that. And that's the part that I think from an impact standpoint that you have, is you've taken up a flag in an area where God put you, which is around pools and around water, and with your own life story and your own life experiences, and has brought you to this place where there's something you can do to impact the world, one life at a time, one family at a time, one pool at a time. I don't know what it happens to be, but that's the thing that I hear coming from you. So anyway, let's do this. We're getting to we need to get to the land of planes segment. And I want you to think about it while we're taking a quick break. And for the audio audience, you'll hear a little more Ricky Jean Wright. When we come back, I want to hear, if we take away anything from this podcast, any one thing, and there's a lot of things we could take away here. You've given us a lot of warrior nuggets, whether you realize it or not. But if we take away anything, what would that be? And it could be one thing to whatever you feel you want to share. And then how do we stay in touch with you? And I know you're on the Be Connected platform, but we'll come back. So let's take a quick break. We'll be right back with Stephanie Gardner and Warrior versus Zombie.
Funny how wisdom and youth are always two different games. The years flew by so fast, is the common human complaint. The memories in our minds turn to diamonds in our soul, and by the grace of God, down the road we go.
All right, we are back. And Stephanie, I know there's so many things that you would hope, I know you got a big heart and big desire and want to have an impact. But if we take away anything from this discussion or this podcast, what one thing would you want us to take away?
To know that drowning can happen to anyone and anywhere. You can drown in as little as 1 inch of water. So
that's an important thing to be aware of. Again, we're entrepreneurs, we're warriors, but most of us have families. In fact, pretty much, regardless of how close or how connected we are. And so realizing for ourselves, and I'm going to be in the ocean, in the Mediterranean, actually, in a few weeks. And be around on a cruise, things that you're talking about,
Mhm.
and just realizing that we can all make a difference as warriors by just reminding ourselves and reminding those that we're involved with in the world that we're in that this thing called drowning is not something to just ignore, and it's something that we should all realize. So yeah, that's brilliant. I would expect nothing else, and I also would say that you've communicated a lot of other key points here around tenacity and commitment and faith and a number of other things that I've heard throughout your story. So that's brilliant. So how do we, beyond reaching out to you, Stephanie Gardner, it's just like it sounds. I think it's an IE at the end. Gardner is like the gardener. So they'll be able to find you on and connect with you on the Be Connected platform. But beyond that, how do we stay in touch?
You can find me on Facebook, Stephanie Gardner, or also I have a water safety group that I am just starting. So it's called You Are the Ultimate Child Lifeguard. And it's kind of long, but it's on Facebook. So it's a Facebook group, but you're in it just to put out water safety information. That's all it's for. It's not I have a business website as well, but it has nothing to do with my business. This is all about just getting water safety information out. So you are the ultimate child lifeguard.
Well, that's become very clear in our relationship up to this point. I don't have a pool for you to clean, but you're very interested in have been very interested in serving our RP Networkers community as well as this audience. So I really appreciate you taking the time to share. I know that you got to go out and clean pools, but thank you for sharing.
Thank you very much.
So for those that are listening here, we'll be back again next Thursday with another warrior at 11 a.m. Central for another episode of Warrior versus Zombie. Now we'll hear the final outro of Ricky Jean Wright and our theme song.
It's not the getting there, it's the journey every day. It's not a race to see how many people know your name. One day you realize time was worth more than the gold. It's not the getting there, when you get there you'll know. One day you realize time was worth more than the gold. It's not the getting there, when you get there you'll know.